This is peak Florida. Yes, it is. It's just so mean. From the moment I set foot there, they're like, don't leave. And the only reason I am is because it's too damn hot. But it's just anything goes, man. No helmets on motorcycles. No law. There's no laws in Florida. Ponies mating, and it's just my kind of thing.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
And it's becoming a great hockey state, too. Battle of Florida opening up this weekend, one of 8 Stanley Cup first-round series. This is our Stanley Cup playoff preview show, live on the Game Plus television network. All across Canada, 32 U.S. states. Rick Sutter coming up later this hour from Hockey's First Family. The sports doctor was with us last hour from Winnipeg, and now it's our distinct honor to welcome in Gord Stellick from SiriusXM NHL Radio, Stellictricity. Gordy, I appreciate you. From what I understand, you're under the weather. From what I heard this morning, on a scale of 1 to 10, how's your cold and flu? Did I hear that right?
Well, no, I hear you waxing poetic about the hot weather and all that. So, yeah, just a little bit of a head cold, but all good. Like it's playoff time, so we all soldier through, right?
Yeah. Are you hurt or are you injured, right, Gordy? Well, I appreciate it because I know how hard it can be when you're not feeling so well. And I do have some fun NHL radio questions for you. I'll get to at the end. We're not going to keep you too long, about 15 minutes. But our poll question today is, will there be an upset in round 1? Over 90% of respondents saying, yes, there will be. So who will it be? How would you answer that?
Well, it's easy to answer yes, because that's traditionally hockey has had the least predictable, first round of the playoffs. That's what's so exciting about it. You get a goaltender. We go back to, 15 years ago with Bruce Boudreau on today, reminding of the great Washington Capital team and running into Yaroslav Halak, who almost did it single-handedly. So who will be that upset? So that's an interesting one. It's funny. I don't know what you consider an upset, like St. Louis, Winnipeg. Of course, that would be an upset. And it's like the Winnipeg Jets, what they get, their reward for being the number 1 team in the NHL is playing as hot a team as there is right now in the NHL. So obviously that would be an upset. I'm still picking Winnipeg, though. You talked about Dallas, Colorado, the Battle of Florida. I mean, there's no upset there, right? I mean, whoever's going to win is going to win. So I think, I'm not going to say history repeats itself. The possibility of Montreal over Washington again. I can't correlate how you play going into the playoffs if you have a good or bad playoff. But I don't like the way the Capitals are playing right now. It's the first time all year I haven't liked the way the Capitals are playing. So, off the top of my head, I don't know if you consider New Jersey an upset, but anyway, I'll say the chance of Montreal repeating what they did 15 years ago.
Well, you know what it is. It's the lower seed winning. That's the upset, whether it's 4 points like some of these series or 20 points like others. But you went there, Gord, with Boudreau. I listen every day, and I especially listen when Bruce is on. You two just sit back. I said to an agent friend of mine, I said, do those guys not like each other? And they're like, no, they love each other. I'm like, doesn't sound like it. How would you describe your relationship with Bruce Boudreau, Gord?
We love each other. We kid about things. I got to know him when I was just starting to leave front office, and they let me go down to an American Hockey League. I think it was semifinal. And the Calder Cup, those playoffs are, match the NHL. And he was on the New Brunswick Hawks against the Great Maine Mariners teams. And so got to know him there. I was always a little careful about guys my age, right? Just because there is a distance between the front office and the players, but I got to know him there and got to appreciate his love of the game. We always kid. I brought him back to play in the American Hockey League with the Newmarket Saints, and then he's pissed at me because I didn't renew his contract the next year, but I actually left and went and worked with the New York Rangers. So we've sorted that all out, and it's part about, But you know what? I got to tell you, Rod, I'm not surprised he became a great coach because, like I said, there's certain people, the student of the game, I really enjoyed. Like even now, Mark Savard with the Leafs as an assistant coach, just having done media with him for about 18 months, the way he saw the game, right? I really could appreciate that. So, no, I have a lot of fun with Bruce. When he was riding high, I came down with our son, Justin, spent a weekend there, was coaching the Capitals at his house. It was great, and he treated him first class.
Well, I don't doubt that, but I'm telling you, it is such an honor to have you on because I do listen to you guys every day. Like Boudreau said, hey, Gord, you were our GM in Newmarket, but I never saw you. You know these lines, right? It's classic chirping between you guys. So thank you for straightening it out that you do love each other. And that agent was right then with what he said. There are a lot of questions from the crowd. I'm going to try to get to those in the time that we have. But I would be remiss if I didn't ask your thoughts on the Battle of Ontario. Being, I can call you a Leaf guy, right? A Toronto guy. What's your thoughts on that series?
Well, great stories in Ottawa, great stories in Montreal. I mean, one's Ontario, one's Quebec, obviously. I mean, those two to get in the playoffs instead of, say, Boston, Detroit, New York. So the Battle of Ontario goes back. The Leafs beat the Ottawa Senators 4 times in 5 years, starting in 2000. I mean, they crushed them. You know, the Daniel Alfredson era against Matt Sundin and that. I think, though, Rod, this reminds me of when the Leafs first got back in the playoffs. What was it? Right now, the Leafs have the longest consecutive being in the playoff streak, 9 years, okay, since Boston fell by the wayside. So that first year, they played Washington. They had a 2-1 lead in games. They lost the series 4-2, and they got a standing O, the Leafs did, when they shook hands, because it was, you know, a great accomplishment to make the playoffs. That's, to me, what Ottawa's now. That's the way it should be, and that's the way it's going to be. Is Ottawa, great experience, but it'll be like the Leafs 9 years ago. So there's too much of everything for the Maple Leafs in this particular series. And man, oh man, the Leaf fans have had playoff disappointments, too many to speak of, to remember in the last little while. This one would be a killer. If they got eliminated in the first round by the Ottawa Senators, would be a killer.
I got to ask you, I hear it in the press box so much here in Sunrise from the hockey guys about going to 1 versus 8. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you if you think there should be a change to the playoff format, because these pairings would be radically different if they did.
I think so. I really do. There should be something meaty to finish high over 82 regular season games. So, yes, I agree with that. I'd even do 1 versus 16. I understand that doesn't work. It's unwieldy. I get it. I do remember when they did it a couple of years way back when in a 21-team NHL. But, yeah, to answer your question, definitely I would do 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, and so on.
Ted in Red Deer says, hey, Gord, in today's NHL, how important is it for a coach and GM to be analytics-oriented?
It's part of the equation. Okay, I think if you are too analytics orientated, you're taking the human side, the judgment side out. So whatever that balance may be, there's some teams that are way heavier on it than others. That I agree. It's a piece of it. It's a tool. It's a big tool, and you can't ignore it. It's been a big advancement in our game. But there still comes the eyeball test, the gut test, the how's the game going test if you're a coach, the bench coach, and those things. I think sometimes. You know, ever since that book Moneyball in baseball almost got eradicated or dismissed, you know, as not being important. So Ted, I think it's Ted. Anyway, big part, but the other parts are just as important.
Well, that's the thing. We talked about this yesterday. The misnomer on the Moneyball thing is the A's never won. Like, what are you trying to do with that? Right? Yeah. So what is it, like 50-50, 60-40, 70-30? I say analytics are a tool, and that's it. They're cool to look at, but they're not going to win you anything.
Yeah, and Charles Barkley had that funny line just saying it's a great way, intelligent people that can't break into sports and want to break into sports, so they created it to find a way that they can. Yes. And so I'm not as flippant to say that's the case and that, but I do think sometimes you can, they're great things. Use all the information you can have. But, you know, it comes down to here and here and here about ultimately making those kind of judgments.
Gord, who do you think will be the best series? And by that, I obviously mean the longest and the closest games. What do you think will happen there? Okay,
so in the first round, I'll pick, man, Colorado, Dallas. Like that's absurd. They meet in the first round. Okay. So I'm going to go with that one just because, I mean, those are two great teams. And you know, and then like last year, I thought it's funny. I was really intrigued by Colorado, Winnipeg, and they threw the script out before the puck dropped. I mean, talk about analyzing a series. There was nothing in the script at all. The way that series played out, it played out better for Colorado than it did for Winnipeg. So, and then if one of those upset teams happens, if an upset is brewing, that gives more intrigue to a particular series. But I just love the excellence of those two teams. Man, Dallas really, now hopefully Jason Robertson, it's not a serious injury, but they're really literally limping in to the playoffs. But I'm intrigued by that series.
And I have to ask you, too, about home ice being a factor. They're making a big deal for good reason. The Kings have it for the first time in 4 years against the Oilers. If they win tonight, they'll have the best home record in the NHL, tied as it is with Carolina against the Flames. But I like with the Panthers, I hear what they say about the recovery time, the rest. They put more into that than any team, I think, in the NHL, and they won the Stanley Cup. Is home ice as big as it used to be, Gord, in your mind?
No, not even close. Not even close. But
no.
And that's why I like the 1 versus 8 thing, to give you a little bit more juice if you do come first overall. But, I'll use Toronto as an example that, okay, they'll get home ice now for the first time. And, so it's a point of difference for them. They have not played well at home in the playoffs for whatever reason. So they got home ice advantage, but they got to figure a way to make it home ice advantage. But your example of the Florida Panthers, I mean, they've been to the dance the last 2 years, going as far as you can go, one of the times actually winning it, but going to the final and understanding there's a lot of variables that come into play. And I know, like, Wendell Clark had that line that, years when he broke in the NHL, there was the Philadelphia Spectre, the Boston Garden, the Odd in Buffalo, the Forum in Montreal. I mean, there was such a distinctiveness. And then he said it's to the point that if you blindfold a player, put him at center ice, take the blindfold off, you wouldn't know what arena he's at. They became cookie cutter type arenas. And I think that's been part of what was home ice advantage when it was significantly more of a home ice advantage.
Well, you must, when you say that, miss those days, like the Boston Garden, that little matchbox of a neutral zone, right? And just the way the ice was, the Bruins would know the advantage they have over the soft ice in other places. And the ice is perfect now. John Paddock said this to me once, Gord. He goes, the rink's 200 by 85, home and on the road. It makes no difference. And I thought that was kind of an oversimplification, yet I also think John Paddock's a bit of a savant. So if he tells me that, he's probably right, So do you have a Stanley Cup final prediction? I don't know if you're big into picks or not. Nobody's going to remember, Gord. What you say.
I'm not big into picks, and I keep changing my picks, which makes it easier so I can pick all 16 teams yes. If I do 16 hits by the end of the first round of the playoffs. I had taken Dallas the start of the year, which really you should never be picking a Stanley Cup winner the start of the season, right? I picked Toronto last year, okay? And I'm getting that sentimental gut feeling again this year, okay? Winnipeg, I agree with Paul Maurice. Paul Maurice wants to win as many as he can when he's in Florida. And then if he doesn't, he wants the Winnipeg Jets to win one. I agree with it, except, you know what? They got to get rid of the whiteout. They got to get rid of the whiteout. They got to make it a blue. They got to make it a blue wave or something. The whiteout has killed them. Going back to the first carnation of the Jets, it looks fantastic. So anyway, I will go pick an all-Canadian final right now, Toronto and Winnipeg, in which case, who cares who wins? But the other part in the East, and there's no slight against the defending Stanley Cup champions, the team that's killing it right now are the Tampa Bay Lightning. Like the Tampa Bay Lightning just said, hey, guys, I know we don't have Steven Stamkos, but let's go back to when we won 2 Stanley Cups and play like that. And basically, they have all the players like they still do. I mean, that's the team I'm most afraid of playing right now. But let's say, time for the Stanley Cup to come back to Canada since 1993. So let's take the worry out of it. Like Rory McIlroy, the final round, no worry about it. If you have Toronto, Winnipeg in the final, it'll be a Canadian-based team that wins.
All right. Well, we'll be watching for it. Gord, thank you so much. It is an honor. Love listening to you every day. Enjoy the hockey, my man, and take care of the moneymaker there.
Yeah, well, I will. Likewise, Rod, enjoy your show. And thanks very much. The very best time of the year, the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Enjoy it. Appreciate it. Gord Stellick from SiriusXM NHL Radio. And like I say, I just get such a bang out of listening to those guys, particularly him and Bruce Boudreau just chucking knuckles at each other. I'm glad to know that they really do get along. Ooh, Wayne in Victoria, BC writes in and says, wow, Gord, that's my pick this year. Thanks. Leafs and Jets. John Ohm writes in, get rid of the whiteout? Say what? I think he was just saying it hasn't worked. I don't want to speak for Gord, but I kind of get what he's saying. Ted in Red Deer says, home ice became less a variable when they made the ice dimensions the same. Yeah, for sure. But what I think the fans don't see, and Gord would know this very well, and our next guest, Rich Sutter, for sure, it's the distractions. We're talking about the NHL. We're talking about men. We're talking about kids jumping on you and family coming in for the games. And on the road, you don't have to worry about that stuff. It's not as big an advantage as you think. Yet, Game 7 last year, the Panthers were happy to have it when they won 2-1 against Edmonton. But it's not even really about, it's about the distractions and limiting, and it's focused. Like, think of Game 4. The Panthers thought they were going up to Edmonton to sweep that series. All their staff flew up. The families all flew up. And what happened? I think it was 6-1 Oilers. It's not about X's and O's. It's about Freddies and Joes, as they say. It's a football term, but it relates to hockey this time of year, too. Rich Sutter in next. That's going to be great from Hockey's First Family. It is our Stanley Cup playoff preview, and I appreciate you all tuning in. We'll be right back here on Game Plus Television, streaming live and podcasting wherever the best podcasts are found.